All right, welcome to Every Second Matters. It's the mixture of legislative update for December 2022, as well as just a general Every Second Matters chat. I'm joined here by G23. Thanks for popping in, man.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, no problem. And that's link is out there for some other people as well. And let me know if you want to join in. I can get links to people, but I'm not just going to put it out in the general chat or whatever. So anyways, first off, I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet and go through the legislative update for the past month, and then we'll kind of open up to general discussion. So this is not necessarily in any particular order, but oh man, now of course my thing's loading slow. I had this all set up. I did great work, but everything's going slow now. All right, so first one I see, this is on like a take action type thing. So New Jersey, there's a mandatory gun storage legislation, S3757. So Thursday, December 9th, the Senate Law and Public Safety Committee is going to hear legislation that would force gun owners to store their guns and ammo under lock and key or face felony penalties. So safe storage laws type stuff, we've seen that before. So if you're in New Jersey, tell your people you don't want 3757. Looks like it's kind of just kicking off, but that's the time to really knock it down, is when it's first kicking off. And then maybe they'll get scared and not even bother to bring it up. Another one in New Jersey is Senate Bill 327. And that's basically just anyone who moves to New Jersey has to register all their firearms, even though existing New Jersey law, you don't have to register long guns. So they're just kind of trying to expand their firearm legislation. I'm trying to see, I don't know where that is in the process, but just, I guess, keep that on the radar. So S327 is bad. And there are some good notes in here too, just for people who are worried, but I think I'll get to those at the end. So let's see, over in our favorite place, Washington. Let's see, House Bill 1618 prohibits carry of firearm, whether open or concealed, into a election-related office. HB 1630 can't carry firearms at school board or local municipality meetings, and HB 1705, which it further restricts the practice of making firearms for personal use. So I guess those are all still going through. There's no date on this, so maybe I mixed up. But anyways, those are all three bad ones. And then yes, we'll get to the other one in the Northwest. That's a big one, which I've found out is started hearing it. The case was heard at 10 o'clock this morning. Anyways, we'll jump back on the other side of the country over in Maine. LD 1068 creates two sections to Maine law. Outlines the court basically power to issue like red flag laws. That's basically what that one is. So we're all aware of that. We all don't like it. And I can move on to that. But if you're over in Maine, know that they're trying to push that. Man, this thing's low and slow. All right. Okay, I opened the Washington one twice because Washington is so bad that I opened the same thing twice. And then, oh, this is a positive one over in New Hampshire. House Bill 1636 basically asked the governor to sign it. So it already went through, but it allows carry on an ATV or like a snowmobile. So they went to permitless carry recently, but when they did that, they never got rid of the prohibition of carrying a firearm on a recreational vehicle. So it's like you can carry around however you want without a permit, but then you can drive around in your car, you can go, wherever you want, but as soon as you get on a snowmobile, you can't have a gun. That's kind of weird. So ask them to sign it. That's kind of a positive one if that goes through. A little positive, but still positive. And then
that one changes the game for hunting also, if you want to think about it.
Yeah, that's true. Which I can kind of see where it probably came from to begin with, because I understand you're not supposed to hunt from a vehicle. So that That might be where that came from originally.
I was thinking the fact that you could then use your ATV or UTV to transport your firearms and yourself to places and then be able to hike a little bit. But if you can't have a firearm when you're on one of those, how could you then use that to, especially for people that are like, if somebody's maybe, not in the best of shape or they've got injuries like prosthesis or whatever, being able to drag that animal out of the hills on their own, they would want to be able to like hike back, get the ATV to then go drag that out with a sled,
Yeah, I think this is still kind of talking about like a concealed carry type thing, because I believe you could do it if you transported, like you put your firearm in like a rifle case or something and go. I guess if you're handgun shooting, it'd be easier just to put it in your holster and jump on. So yeah, anyways, I hope he signs it and makes it a little bit easier. Again, like I said, I got a couple small victories near the end. And then this one I did kind of allude to, but the Oregon measure of 114, lawsuits were filed against it. And for people that don't know, because I guess that did happen last month, with that 114 was approved by voters. And it's basically you have to get a permit to purchase, as well as it bans like regular magazines. So it puts a restriction on magazines, and then it makes this permit to purchase thing, which from what I've heard, they haven't even figured out all the things to like be able to get a purchase permit. Like they don't even have that set up yet. So it's basically banning you from being able to buy guns for a while till they figure out what the heck they want to do. But like I said, there's a lawsuit going on right now, and apparently G23 told me this, that they're hearing it like right now. So maybe we'll have breaking news. And let me get to my one last thing, then we'll open up to general discussion. I'll check the comments and all that stuff. But it's a good news thing. Over in Iowa, the right to keep and bear arms constitutional amendment was voted on, and it passed by like more than 2/3. And I'll just read it word for word what this ballot measure added to the Iowa Constitution. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The sovereign state of Iowa affirms and recognizes this right to be a fundamental individual right. Any and all restrictions of this right shall be subject to strict scrutiny. So that was added to the state level constitution. And that's pretty much all I had for the legislative update. So if that's all you came for, thanks for listening. And now it's officially Every Second Matters. And I have a stupid bot. Do I have mods out there? Oh, I can do it from here. Thanks, StreamYard. Cool. I think that worked. But anyways, so yeah, I'll just jump over here. Chris from 740, what's going on? Scott, and that's the only people I see talking. That was easy.
So, a little bit more background on Measure 114. So, like the California compliant 10-round magazines wouldn't be legal in the state of Oregon as of December 8th, which again comes into a fact of this is supposed to allegedly go into effect on December 8th, but the elections haven't even been certified yet. And so it should go into effect 30 days after the election is certified, which they're saying the elections aren't going to be certified till the December 15th, which would put that into next year. Somehow they've figured a way of circumventing that, and it's going to go into effect.
So they've decided it's passed before it's like officially passed. Like they're just going off of, well, it probably passed because we've got this many votes so far. Like how the news does. I know the news calls winners early, like just because they want to be first or whatever. But it's not official. They think it's going to come out that way because about most people are voting for this person or whatever. Yeah, so are they even doing all the mail-ins and stuff? Is that why it's not certified yet? Is there like it's still being tallied up?
Yeah, they're still being counted, and verified and all that. So it's not even officially over yet. but yet this new law is going to go into effect like a week before it's even officially over.
Yeah, and it was still pretty close, wasn't it? If I remember correct, at least as of like election night and stuff, like it passed, but I thought it passed pretty close. So it's not like it's
So
90% yes, and then okay, yeah, that's technically not official, but if you're already up 90%, like you're probably gonna win. I thought it was pretty close.
yeah, so actually it was a no vote all the way till about 3 days after elections. Then it switched over to a yes vote. At like 50.7%. I think it's up to 51, like 0.3% now.
Yeah, but still, that's got to be I don't know how big Oregon is, but maybe a couple thousand votes, like gets you that extra 1% or something. Like it's not like it's a
Yeah.
million over. Maybe I can look that up real quick.
And the fact is you would think that with it being a constitutional right, even recognized by Oregon state constitution, it's a constitutional right. The Oregon Constitution, 27 or Section 27(1) is where you find the Oregon Second Amendment right, and yeah, it's crazy that this new thing. You would think that they would have to have like a 60% vote to be able to have it pass. But no, they're like, oh no, we just need a simple majority, just a simple. So as long as we get 50.1% of the votes, we're gonna count that as a win.
Yeah, and I mean, especially you're having the regular people vote, and I mean, like I get okay, democracy, blah blah blah, but like you're letting this go to like all the dummies out there who don't even know what they're really voting on. So
Yep. They also, along with being able to vote away other people's rights, they put on the ability to legalize mushrooms. So we're gonna have legalized mushrooms, but you can't own a firearm.
That's crazy.
That sounds right.
So I found the election results here. What the heck? Whoops. Oh, I'm on Politico. But anyways, as of like literally updated 15 minutes ago, the yes vote is 50.6%. The no vote 49.4. And they claim 99% of the votes are in. So an extra 1 more percent of votes, well, 1% would, they could actually flip it if that last 1% is all in favor of destroying it. But anyways, that's your most recent updates. And yeah, as Scott pointed out there, like the longer it drags out, and I'm not saying this happens, but the more chances of shenanigans. Like that's kind of with anything, I think. Like if you got people that are trying to play with the system, the longer you give them time to do that, the more creative they'll get. But up there, honestly, if it does pass, I'm not going to claim shenanigans. I'm going to claim, well, okay, 50.6% of the people are kind of dumb and they voted away their rights. Like that's totally plausible. That now, if it's a Saddam Hussein type vote, 100% in favor, well, that's different. Those are shenanigans. But yeah, 50.7 or 50.6, I can believe Oregon would vote that way.
So, like you were alluding to earlier with the purchase permit, they have no clue what's all going to be required because they haven't really thought this out yet. They have no funds to implement this, and everything. So if it's supposed to be in effect as of the 8th, and there's no way we're less than a week, there's no way that every police department sheriff's department, state police are going to be ready to start handing out pistol permits on the 8th. So
Yeah, I almost hope for some kind of like mass, I don't even want to call it like civil disobedience, but some kind of mass like demonstration of just literally every single person go to your local sheriff or police department or whatever on the morning of the 8th and just be like, I'd like my pistol purchase, please, or my purchase permit, please. And then just, and of course, they'll be like, well, we don't have the paperwork, we don't know how to do that. But just to kind of like put a exclamation point on it of like, okay, like I want to, even if you don't want to buy a gun, just go get a permit to buy one. Because if it's anything like Michigan, you have a limited time to get it. Well, let me clarify. Michigan used to have a purchase permit and they got rid of it. But that's how it was, is you would go in, fill out a thing, and you had to answer like a safety questionnaire thing. They give you a little pamphlet to read, and then there was like a 10-question thing that's easier than the driver's test. I mean, it's literally like true or false, like putting a gun to your head is a good idea. Like, obviously, it's pretty easy. But then, anyways, you had, I forget, like a week or something to use the purchase permit. And if you didn't, and it was void, and then you'd have to go ahead and like get another, go back in and get another one. And it could take up to 3 days to get it. It didn't have to take 3 days. Some places just gave it to you right then and there, but it was by the county. And so when I got it, when I bought my handgun, like it did have to wait because it was in Wayne County, which is what Detroit is. And so they read that as it can take up to 3 days, as in you have to wait 3 days. So it's kind of a de facto waiting period, but not legally, like it, because you could go somewhere up north or whatever, and they would just hand it to you right then and there. So it kind of just depended. But the theory was, oh, it gives us more time to do a background check on you. I was like, well, I'm doing a background check when I do buy the gun. So like, what does the state of Michigan know more than what Nix knows? Like, all that information should be in there anyways if I'm a bad guy. So what are you really checking for?
So see, with that permit, it's going to be just like your concealed carry where you have to go through training. So you're gonna have to take a training course, which is going to require live fire training also. So what's the wait period going to be to get into one of those trainings? And it's not like you can just go to anyone that offers your concealed handgun license, your CHL or your CCW or whatever your state is calling their concealed carry license. This is all going to have to be done through, the police department, the sheriff's department, or the state police. You're going to have to get this training. So if you don't own a firearm, how are you going to go through this training to be able to to show proficiency? Because you can't just go borrow a gun from like your relative that has a firearm.
Well, I mean, to play devil's advocate, and I'm not trying to support the measure, but I would just assume that the instructor of the class would have like a rental available type thing. So you take the class, I'm assuming there's, classwork and then live fire portion, right? So there's probably split up half and half or whatever. And then you would just have to, use the rental gun. But also, like, I can kind of, and I don't agree with it, but I can kind of understand, like, to have a carry permit having to do live fire, because maybe you've already owned a gun for a while and you just want to start carrying it. So, okay, you probably already know how it works. Like, that's what happened with me. I had owned firearms for a while before I got my carry permit. So it was no big deal, hit the paper 10 times or whatever. Oh, that's easy. But I could see if someone new, it might be hard. But if it's like just to purchase the gun, then it's definitely going to be more often someone who's never even had one to begin with. And you're expecting them, okay, here's, 10 minutes of instruction. Now, whatever, shoot like a marksman. Person's going to be like, well, I don't even know how to load the magazine yet. So that seems a bit much just to get a permit of having to do some kind of live fire training as well. So it's like, well, I'm buying the thing so I can go do training. Like, that's, It, again, we all know it just doesn't make sense. They don't want it to. It doesn't have to. They don't care that there's no paperwork set up yet. Like they probably haven't even printed out the forms you have to fill out yet because they don't even know like what it's gonna look like or what the language will be. But I still think, some kind of mass demonstration. Everyone go to your police station on the 8th and try and get your purchase permit. And if they say, well, you need the class, it's like, okay, well, I'll sign up for the class right now. Oh, we don't have any instructors yet. Just to, whatever. Just prove the point that they don't know what the heck they're doing and they're not ready for it yet. Besides the fact that it's stupid and unconstitutional to begin with, like just logistically speaking, it shouldn't go into effect because they're not ready for it to go into effect yet. Like, get your ducks in a row and then infringe on me. Like, it's bad that you're infringing on me, but you're infringing on me half-assed.
Like, there, almost every FFL in Oregon right now is worried. They're going to go out of business as of the 8th, pretty much. Yeah, they'll still be able to sell like accessories, and stuff like that, but they can't do firearm transfers, or anything because of the fact that there won't be any, of these permits available. The last I knew, they were saying at the earliest, everything will be in order to get the permits somewhere mid to late January.
So that's basically, all right, well, you guys are taking an extended Christmas vacation. Take the month of December and January off. We know the government doesn't care about shutting businesses down. They like doing that. But I don't know, maybe that's an angle too. Like, obviously we can fight the thing on the legal side, but maybe there's a part of it from the business side that they could sue the government for, whatever damages, like for shutting them down. The other thing, if you are a gun shop in the area, here's a free idea, just because I don't want to see gun shops go out of business. And I don't know how legally speaking this is, but, sell, here, let me do quotes, sell the gun as a gift certificate so that your loyal customers can still like basically put dibs on a gun, put it in layaway type of thing, take a deposit or pay for the whole thing. So you still have money coming in. And then in January, once the permits start rolling out, the people can start coming and picking up their stuff that they bought in the month of December. Now, it's not a perfect solution, but I mean, if that helps you stay alive for a couple of months of putting stuff on layaway, but having you pay up front, then that's a way to do it. But maybe they'll say, oh, that counts as selling the gun, even though they haven't took possession of it yet. So, you get in trouble. So this is not legal advice, but that's the first thing I can think of is sell the crap out of gift certificates or do some kind of layaway thing where the person puts more than $50 down so that you have cash coming in. Because eventually the permits will exist. If this all gets upheld, eventually you'll start having customers again. You just need to stay alive for the next couple of months until those start rolling in. That's worst case scenario.
So here's the other part of Measure 114, which I have not really heard anyone talking about. Once the 4473 comes back with a proceed, they have 24 hours to turn the firearm over to the person. So, I know a lot of shops and stuff do like the 4473 when you're layawaying the gun. So you couldn't even do that until, like, even if they had paid off the gun, you couldn't even initiate that 4473 until they had the pistol permit or purchase permit in, because otherwise that would put you in jeopardy of losing your FFL.
Okay, so you wouldn't be able to do that. I guess I'm thinking back, right, when like I said, when I got mine, it was basically like I put the gun in layaway for 3 days until my permit came in. And yeah, I didn't fill out the 4473 till I came to pick it up. Now that being said, because it was only, I forget, maybe like $100 deposit or whatever. And I told the dude, I'm like, I have the money now. Like, I just want to buy it. Like, let me just pay it off. Like, I'll just buy it, and then that's my gun. I just have to. It's in jail, kind of like a suppressor. It's in jail till you get your tax stamp. And he basically, the guy at the store. Oh crap! Gotta find that piece. Wait, hang on. So I just noticed that my dog bit a chunk out of that. Oh, okay, I found it. Whew, that scared me. My dog had bit this chunk off of his toy that we all know he loves, and I couldn't find it. And I thought he swallowed this big ass chunk, but he didn't. So we're all good. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So like I just put down a deposit, and he was like, in case like the permit doesn't come back, or like if you never show up or whatever, then you didn't lose all your money. Like just put down like $100 or whatever, which protects them for in case my permit doesn't come back or I fail the 4473. Like then at least they got something out, because I'm pretty sure it was non-refundable. Like so he's like, if you fail the 4473, like we keep that $100. So if you paid for the whole thing, we keep the whole thing. So don't do that. So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. Even though, like I said, I had the money at the time. I wasn't laying it away because I was saving up money. I was putting it on layaway because of the permit thing. So again, Oregon could do something similar to that. I'm just trying to share advice, share some help. But yeah, that's interesting that once you get the thing back, you have to transfer it in 24 hours. Because here's the thing. Most people would think, okay, well, let's forget all the permit part of it. Like, let's say that's all, whatever, who cares? And maybe it doesn't exist. Well, a normal person, like, walk in, you do the NICS check, it comes back right away, and then you take the gun. So, okay, good to go. Well, what if you got delayed? And so you go home, and then, a couple days later, you get to proceed, and your gun shop calls you up. You go in on a Monday, do the thing. They call you up on Wednesday and say, okay, hey, dude, you passed. Oh, well, crap, dude. I went out of town for work. I won't be back till Friday. So now, because they put you on a delay, you can't just pause your life because you were expecting to pick it up on Monday. It's not your fault that they didn't get you the okay until Wednesday. And under normal circumstances, you'd say, oh, crap, I went out of work. I'll be back on Friday. I'll come get it then. And the gun shop says, okay, cool. But now that 24 hours, you'd be screwed. So that's like, I don't understand. That one doesn't even, what is that solving? Like, what problem is that fixing of people that pass the check but don't pick up their guns for another couple of days or an extra week? Like, that's not illegal. What does that have to do? That's not stopping any crime. I think it's just to be annoying for situations like that, which may be rare, but not zero. Like, there's been plenty of times when I plan my week out or whatever, and okay, I have time to do something on Monday, but I wasn't planning on it taking till Wednesday, and I'm out of town or I'm doing something else. And I do want to.
Or you work the same hours as the gun shop's open, so you can only go in on your days off,
Right, yeah. So you can only go in on Saturday or something, and then all of a sudden it gets delayed, and they call you up first thing Monday morning. Because you said exactly 24 hours. So if it clears at 7 a.m. on Monday, well, you can't even come into work like on your lunch break on Tuesday. Like that's past 7 a.m. on Tuesday. So yeah, that's just too annoying, I think.
So,
but yeah,
right now, so the Oregon background check, they call it FIX. Which runs through the state police department. And there is actually a law on the books that they're supposed to have that background check done in 15 minutes. And right now, you have a backlog of over 20,000 people that are in limbo waiting for background checks to come back, that are taking 2-3 weeks to get back, and they're supposed to be back in 15 minutes with a proceed or delay or deny. Oh,
so they're not even getting a delay right away. Because that was the other thing I was thinking. like that sounds like a good law. It has to be at least 15 minutes. But I was thinking they can't control, like, if there's for some reason for a delay, like that's on the federal level. That's not the state's fault. But you're saying like they have to have an answer of at least yes, no, or maybe. You have to at least get that answer, because delay, I call it a maybe. And they're
Yeah.
not even getting that. That's interesting.
No, so what's happening right now is, okay, well, the background check is in process. We'll get to it at some point in the next 90 days.
And then 89 days from now, they say, okay, we processed it and you're delayed. We might get back to you in a couple days or maybe longer.
Yeah.
And then completely on their whim, they decide, Christmas Eve at 5 p.m., okay, you passed. Well, what the heck? You have to transfer it within 24 hours now. And again, it's not your fault that you got the yes a month later when you weren't expecting it, and you have to drop everything and run to the gun store.
Yeah. So they, hey, I'm gonna, get a new pistol, or a new rifle or whatever, because I've got this hunting. I'm gonna go to Alaska on this hunting trip, so I'm gonna go get this new latest and greatest rifle, with a nice scope and all this stuff, and I want to be able to, get it ready to go. And you get delayed, you get put into who knows what, and then, well, crap, well, I just got to go hunting with my old rifle, and then you're off on your 2-week hunting trip, and you get hey, guess what? You can have your firearm now. You're supposed to immediately book a flight, come back, and make sure you're there within 24 hours. I don't know how that's going to happen. Or you go on vacation with the family. You guys go to Hawaii for 2 weeks, then you get you just fly out there, and the gun shop calls you. Hey, we can proceed with this. You just passed. You got 24 hours to come pick up the firearm. Well, I'm in Hawaii.
Now, what's the? I'm just curious because I haven't. That must be one of the smaller ones, right? Like all the stuff I've seen and focus on the big stuff. Well, thank you very much for shining some light on the nuanced little things. But actually, I have 2 questions. So the first question is just to clarify, because my memory's not great. Is the purchase permit for handguns only or for all firearms?
No one knows. They just called it a purchase permit. So is it going to affect rifles, shotguns?
Okay.
Or is it just going to be pistols? Like the major states purchase permit. Now, if you want to go down the deep rabbit hole on this, they could theoretically make you do a background check on OC spray, because under Oregon law, if you're using pepper spray or anything like that, you can face the same charges as using your firearm because it's regulated the same way.
You mean if you use pepper spray as an offensive tool, you'd get in just as much trouble?
Yes. Yeah. So
if you if you mug someone and you pepper sprayed them or whatever, it wouldn't just be regular robbery. It'd be robbery with a weapon or whatever.
Armed robbery. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
And the thing is okay, say you get out of your car to go get gas, right? And all of a sudden, a group of people come running up on you, and you pepper spray. And all of a sudden, the person that was getting gas at the pump next to you gets pepper sprayed on accident. You're going to face the same charges as if you would have just shot them.
That's crazy. Because I actually agree with you're responsible for any projectile that comes out of your firearm, right? So if that was scenario, you shoot the bad guy and then also shoot the bystander next to him. Like, yeah, okay, you should get in trouble. Like, at least you're alive, but you did something wrong. You did not hit the intended target. You hit the bystander. But pepper spray is like, that stuff clouds out like crazy.
Yep, and you're supposed to be able to control the wind.
I don't know. That's kind of the same thing with some of the other laws is, rather be judged by 12 and carried by 6 or whatever. Okay. I'd rather maybe accidentally pepper spray a bystander as long as I get the bad guy and I get away. So I probably would still do it and then deal with the consequences later.
But here's another thing. If that innocent person, that bystander, is an off-duty police officer or an undercover police officer or, their first responder, now from a possible misdemeanor, you're going to aggravated felony.
Well, if that dude's an undercover or an off-duty police officer, I'd be like, how come you didn't fucking step in and protect me then? And I know they don't legally have to, but it's like, really, dude? And I get it. Then now we're like 10 steps down of what ifs, maybes. So I do want to take a break here just for a second, say hi to some more of the people that jumped in. AR Gun 1776, what's going on? Bearded Guy, Vanessa Kitty joined us. Sanchez jumped in. Gary Gizzard. I always say that backwards. It's Gizzard Gary, but I always call him Gary Gizzard. Not sure why. And those are, Fine Ape, New York Outcast, Ghost. What's going on, guys? Yep. Okay, so that's everybody. Now I'm caught up.
It's been a minute since I've heard Fine Ape out in a side chat. I think
he always jumps in on my live chats.
Last time I think I've seen him was back when Midnight used to do live.
Yeah, he must just not like you because he's in all of my live chats. Just kidding. Just stirring some trouble.
It quite possibly could be. I mean,
could be. Whatever. Here's the thing, and I've said this a million times, but we don't all have to hold hands and be friends. And I'm not saying you guys don't like each other, obviously, whatever. I have no idea. But, like, we're all pushing this boulder down the road, and this is Every Second Matters. So, I'm appreciative of everyone who showed up to help support. And, let's get the boulder pushed down the road. We're all fighting on the same team for now. And if we want to fight later, that's fine. We can fight later. If you don't want machine guns to be mail order and I do, well, then we'll fight then. But right now, like, the NFA is out of control. The pistol purchase permits are out of control. Like, let's fight and get rid of all this stuff first. That's just a friendly reminder, because we like to sometimes go too far down the road where we're not even close to yet and then argue with each other. This guy thinks that, felons should get a gun when they walk out of jail. I don't agree with that. It's like, okay, well, you can disagree with them when that starts happening. But until then, let's fight together.
Yep.
It's like the same problem in, like, just everyday life with, like, the libertarian mentality, like that party, if you call it that. Like, there's some that are super duper extremists and some that are, like, kind of mild. And they end up fighting with each other when it's like you both agree that this thing that's happening is bad. So why are you fighting with each other? But Bearded Guy saying the rock's getting heavy and we're pushing it uphill. That's kind of true, but also I kind of think the rock is picking up some steam. Like, look at constitutional carry. We're at the tipping point of 25 states. That just issue alone you'd think was a huge rock back in the day, but we're at half the country and you don't have to have a permit to carry concealed, and that's pretty darn good. And it's like we seem to be adding. It started, we'd add one every couple of years. Now we're adding 2 or 3 states a year. Now I think there's going to be a fight at the very end to get the last 10 or 12 states, but I think the next 10 states might happen in a couple years. Like, boom, boom, get five a year, and you get the next 10. Now you're up to 35 out of 50. Like, I think it's possible.
Oh yeah, and with the new New York Pistol and Rifle v. Bruin, um, we're going to start seeing a lot more wins going in our favor. We're already seeing them, and yeah, there's going to be pushback and stuff like that. But the writing on the wall is there. Now we just got to be strategic and smart about how we go about advancing, because just to go, like 0 to 120 and hey, screw all this other stuff, we're just going to go after the NFA. It's not the logical step. If we can go and start taking small wins, it's kind of, if you go into the football analogy, you've got 4 downs to make 10 yards. If you're just trying to, score that touchdown every time, you're never going to win the game. But if you're picking up 3, 4, 5 yards at a time, you're going to control the clock. You're going to control, everything, and you're going to end up 9 out of 10 times winning that game.
That's true, but it is why I love the football analogy. And I'm not super good at football, but I do know this: if you only ever run for 2, 3 yards at a time, the defense just stacks up on the line and then they smash you at the line of scrimmage every single time. So you got to run a couple times, and then they go, "Oh, these guys are only running." They all push in, and then you throw a 15-yarder. You throw a 20-yard pass. Like and then you always have that Hail Mary hanging over, where it's like, okay, you guys are all going to rush the QB, and you have every single defenseman is 2 inches away. Well, I'm going to throw this thing all the way down the field. I have one dude down there. He's going to catch it, and it's a 90-yard touchdown. So I think the threat of getting rid of the NFA, the big Hail Mary, that needs to exist, because if they don't respect that we could do it, or even like the 10-yarders, the 20 yards, like those are decent, like not super short, but not super long, like just decent, good things. That keeps the defense guessing. And then, it's more rugby might be a better example, because it goes back and forth. It's not always we're only on offense, they're only on defense. But rugby, like, he kind of goes back and forth a lot more often. But still, the more offense you do, even if you're playing defense, like if there was 2 footballs, and now the analogy is falling apart, but like if as they're trying to score on you, you're trying to score on them, they have to stop what they're doing and run back and try and catch up. That'd be an interesting game of football. Have two footballs, and each team is trying to go the opposite direction. And what type of people do you put on the field at any given time? But anyways, okay, so New York says that he doesn't watch football, and I'm speaking a foreign language, and I agree. I don't know a lot about it either. But the point is, I believe in a full-on approach. Like, get rid of the NFA is like the big, like, we're just going to get rid of everything, like finally go back to what the Second Amendment is supposed to be. But then we got rid of waiting periods in one state. That's a victory. It's a little victory, but it's like, okay, well, it used to be 7 days and now it's a 1 day, or it went away altogether. Like, keep doing those too. And then that way, again, Bloomberg is the one spending his money on all this stuff. So he's going to have to start spending his money in all sorts of different places about all sorts of different stuff. If we don't do anything, he just picks one thing, dumps all his energy into it, and then he gets his way. And we can be the same way, right? We put all our energy into one court case, or put all our energy into one, veto of a thing. Well, then we're going to lose someplace else because we're not paying attention.
And see, and that's what, right now we've got the GOA, SAF, firearms policy, the FPC, and they're doing great jobs in attacking multiple different fronts. And, they're going with all these different kinds of cases. I mean, think about if they get a victory in Texas where suppressors made in Texas and stay in Texas actually passes, and they get that huge win that, yes, that's constitutionally legal, what effect is that going to have on the NFA? So that's a big threat to the NFA right there. And we have all these other small cases that are going on. I mean, you look in Washington with the 10-round mag, which they're attacking. And you've got the Silent Majority Foundation, which I don't know if a whole lot of people know about them, but they're starting to come out in Washington. And they're one of the they filed an amicus brief for the Oregon Measure 114. They filed on the side of Oregon Firearm Federation, saying it was unconstitutional, and they were there this morning for oral arguments, helping with that. So again, we're kind of, a lot of us in Oregon are in limbo trying to find out if we're going to get that injunction stopping 114 from going into effect.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. That's the first step. Get the injunction from going into effect, and then fight altogether. I would think, especially since we've kind of mentioned, earlier of like, well, they don't even know how the heck they're going to do it. I would think you could at least get, okay, the state has to prove that they're ready for it, and then we'll allow it to go through. But like an injunction until we just figure out if it's constitutional or not would be even better. But I would think at least on that practicality basis alone of like, they're not ready yet. So why would you make citizens do something that they can't do? It'd be like having some kind of, I don't know, whatever. So like super enhanced driver's license you can't get yet, but starting tomorrow, in order to drive a car, you need one. And I know everyone hates the car gun analogy, but it's a good example. Like all of a sudden, all of these law abiding people that but are willing to follow the rules that you just made up at the top of your head, just made some crap up. They say, okay, we don't like it, but we're going to follow the rule. I'd like to do that now. And they say, oh no, you can't do that yet. That's just it. You wouldn't do that in any other type of law. Some kind of like insurance thing. Everyone has to get this insurance, but we don't have the guidelines for it yet. Well, what the heck? I can't even get it yet. So I don't know. It's crazy. There wouldn't be food regulations that a restaurant has to get a permit to serve food, but we don't have the permit system set up yet. So all of a sudden everyone starves? Like what? They wouldn't do that anyplace else. How come on guns it's cool to just, oh yeah, we're not ready yet, but okay, go ahead.
Here's the perfect analogy. So you don't have to have a permit to go and speak and use your First Amendment right. Now, in certain rally situations, you may have to have a permit, but they're almost easily gotten. It's more like, here's this new permit to be able to be on Facebook or on YouTube. You have to have this permit, but we don't exactly know how we're going to go about it. So you're going to have it, but wait.
Okay, they must have came for him because he just muted himself.
Well, no, it's like, that's one of those ones. It's like, you got to wait, what they have no ways of implementing it, but yet they're going to say you have to have it to be able to use it. It absolutely makes no sense on how you're going to require something without putting some forethought into and setting everything up, having it all ready to go before you go and announcing that this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. But what else? What else is going on? Because as far as I know, like I think we're all in agreement on the Oregon thing. Did anything else happen this past month? Like I said, it went by pretty quick. Normally, when I do the update, it takes me 20 some minutes to do, and today it took me like 10 minutes.
So
So
I know in Washington that 10-round mag law that went into effect. Was it the day before Thanksgiving? The Silent Majority Foundation in the eastern regions of Washington had a hearing um, to get that get an injunction stopping that. And they should get a response somewhere probably by Christmas, is what the Washington gun law guy was saying in a video that he put out yesterday, um, talking with the head of the Silent Majority Foundation.
I mean, I've never heard of that organization before, but it sounds cool. Like it's. I mean, I guess they're living up to their name, the Silent, because I never heard of them. But I don't
I
know.
mean,
That's
yeah, they're a small organization in Washington, but man, are they in the last 3-4 months? They've really been coming out and getting a lot more recognition, um, and people are starting to hear more and more about them. I don't know if they're going to be, the newest and latest and greatest, GOA or whoever you want to try to compare them to. Um, but yeah, they're doing a lot of great work, and for a small organization, which they're very small, um, if people want to help them out, uh, they have a website. I think it's what SMF JB, something like that, which is Silent Majority Foundation, and everyone knows what FJB stands for. So, .org.
yeah, that's cool. I'm gonna check them out, and that's sometimes the small little groups they're more nimble than the big guys, and they can actually get more done even with like less resources, or they get the resource for whatever reason, they become the new cool kids in town or whatever, and they get super big really fast, and then they end up like doing all the good work that because they still have like the principles of a small group, but then they have the resources of a big group. So I don't know. I think it takes all types like that as well. The big groups and the small ones, the state level, the couple of buddies sitting in the garage, like they can get stuff done. And everyone thinks of like NRA or Gun Owners of America or Second Amendment Foundation, FPC, right? Those are like kind of the big ones. And even on that list, like FPC is the small guy out of those four. And they've just been cranking stuff out. But they're lawsuit people, right? And that's one prong of the attack is doing the lawsuits and stuff that already went through. The other form of attack, and I don't know how well we did this last election, but it's like getting the right candidates in there that are gonna even not even be pro 2A, just not anti. I'm okay with that. And I still think that's our biggest room for growth is, across the aisles. Because I really hate when like Republican is used for shorthand of like pro 2A and Democrats used for shorthand of anti. Now that might be most, like generally speaking, like that's a pretty quick shorthand. If you only have 10 seconds to figure something out, you just look at the letter next to the person's name and guess. But we know there's plenty of antis that have R's next to their name. And I think there might be even not pro, but just agnostic on the Democrat side. They just don't care. Guns aren't the thing they care about. Like they're trying to get health care. They're trying to help homeless, or they're trying to do this, that, or the other. like mayors and stuff. They care more. They got their city. They worry about roads. They worried about, some other thing. And oh, here's some gun thing that popped along. I guess I'll vote for it because I'm supposed to. Well, we need to change that to where we don't want like, oh, I guess I'll vote for this restriction just because like my party is telling me I should. We want that party and the people that are in it to be like, stop voting against our rights. Like, go ahead and fix the roads, stupid mayor. Like, that's what we hired you for, and quit taking away our guns. And I'm trying to remember what city it was. There was back in the day when illegal mayors was a thing, but the mayor left was like, I joined this group because it was, I'll say, I guess correctly, the Mayors Against Illegal Guns. It's like, I thought we were going to stop crime and get illegal guns off the street. Like, that's why I joined. And turns out this whole group is about passing new gun control. That's not, that's not what's going to help me. That's not what I want. And I wish I could remember what mayor it was. I'd give him credit. But they ended up like leaving the group. And then come to find out, like half those people ended up going to jail for, running machine guns and stuff. So that's why illegal guns or illegal mayors. That's why I call it that, because that's more accurate. But that type of stuff, like I said, whoever that mayor was, like, I'll give them credit. They thought they were doing the right thing, and oh, cool. I'm against illegal guns. Me too. Like, I don't like illegal guns. I don't like when bad guys have guns. I wish you could get rid of that. But taking mine away is not helping that situation. So quit writing laws that hurt me because I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, and then when we talk about like the elections, look here, just in this last election down in California, what was it, San Diego? I think it was in the San Diego area. The sheriff's office, they had a Democrat that was running versus the Republican, and the Democrat was actually pro firearm, and the Republican was anti. Crap. What organization talked about that? I think you were there in their side chat. It's like San Diego Gun Owners or something. They're on YouTube.
The San Diego Gun Owners, or Gun Owners of San Diego, something like that. But okay, hang on a second.
If G-Webs was here, he could tell us because I found them through G-Webs.
All right, G23, it's your show for a couple of minutes, if that's cool. But I will be back.
Okay, so let's see what's going on out in the side chat. The bearded guy says, G23, don't get me started on that San Diego crap. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. Yeah, you definitely need to be paying attention. Just because you voted doesn't it doesn't stop there. Paying attention to the results and making sure that people the count is being done correctly and stuff. You can volunteer to be a ballot counter or volunteer to be like an Overwatch, so that you can watch what's going. An observer is, I think, what they call them. So you can get involved. And that bearded guy says, I'm about 9 hours from San Diego. Well, I'm in Southern Oregon, so I don't know. Probably, within 10 hours, I think, of San Diego. Maybe less. jump on I-5, depending on traffic, get down there. So, with it, this being every second matters, I do plan on going out and carrying. I think I'm going to carry the SP 2022 in 40 cal today. So, yep. You're in the center of California, because I know where San Diego is. I just try to stay the hell out of California. Um, and if I go into California, it's just the very northern tip of California. Yeah. And Smeggy says, what did you guys do for Every Second Matters? Yeah. If you're carrying, what'd you carry? Did you open carry if it's legal in your state? Because I know not every state allows open carry. Um, hell, that's a nice firearm. That bearded guy says, for Every Second Matters, I got my 1911 Commander size on the coffee table. So, yeah, not even gonna try to pronounce that county because I probably screw up the name. So, uh, hopefully, you guys in California get some freedom here pretty soon. I know St. Benitez is supposed to be hearing a couple of your cases. I think that's coming up here pretty quick. Um, or he just heard a few of them. So hopefully you guys get the rulings, because as soon as those go up into the ninth, I don't see how they can rule any other way but that the AWB ban is unconstitutional, the magazine ban is unconstitutional, the gun registry is unconstitutional. So yeah, I get what you're saying, Rob, but also you have to think about the fact that every single voting machine in the United States is owned by one group, which is that group is then owned by one specific person. Yeah, yeah. I don't see why we wouldn't get it overturned. Um, because if you go reading into it, there's probably four different constitutional violations in it. So it's not just on a Second Amendment, Constitution issue. There's a lot more others that are involved. So yeah, and I know New York is in some heated battles right now. So yeah, we got a lot of good things that are going on in this country, and we just need to keep going forward. So no, all the voting machines in the United States are owned by Dominion Voting. Dominion Voting is all owned by Soros or Bloomberg, one of those two. And they're stored at different warehouses across the United States, but they're still all owned by Dominion Voting.
Okay, I'm back, man. Thank you for holding down the fort.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, anyway, so I did toss that question out there when I was able to type what everyone do for every second matters. So I'll go ahead and answer it for myself. I did this. Like that's it. Normally I like to try and just make it a point in my everyday life to start a conversation about the Second Amendment or about gun rights in general. And I kind of do that anyways, like in my everyday life, but on Every Second Matters, I make it like more of a point to really shoehorn it into the conversation. But I haven't done that today, so.
Yeah, I try bringing up conversation, but I don't just go out and immediately try hey, let's talk Second Amendment. There's times when you get into conversations. Hell, the last time the wife and I were out and about, I got stopped. I was in a Walmart, and a guy saw that I was open carrying in the Walmart, so we ended up having a Second Amendment conversation, and probably, I don't know, 15, 20 other people could overhear our conversation that we were having. So yeah, it was, sometimes you may be in one conversation, but don't forget that other people are hearing what you're saying. They may not go and just interject into the conversation, but they may stay and listen a little bit and try seeing, because it piques their interest, of what's being said. So you can affect other people without directly talking to them.
Yeah, I mean, I have personal experience with that. Back when I worked for this other company, I was in like an office, like cubicle type job, and this guy who sat right next to me, like or kind of behind me, but like shared a wall with me. He was one of these like, I'm pro gun, but why do you need an AR-15? So I guess like classic FUD example. Like we used to talk about bolt actions and shotguns and all, and like, oh, okay, he's my best friend. And as soon as AR-15 comes along, because I said, hey, I built my first AR-15. I was showing him pictures of it. Why do you need that? I'm like, because I wanted to build it. Like, what does it matter? Oh well, I don't know. That's ridiculous. You don't need that. What are you gonna do with it? You're gonna go kill people? I was like, really, dude? We've been talking this whole time, and you're cool with me, and all of a sudden now you think I'm a bad guy? Like, you know me. I'm not a bad guy. I just like having this thing. And anyway, so we would argue a lot, and he also, and I'm like this too. He liked to push my buttons. So I think he almost like devil's advocate, like went even more gun control-y just to like kind of piss me off. But anyways, like we would argue with each other. And because of that, I found out that basically everyone else in the office were all gun owners and all like the Second Amendment and at different levels of interest or support. But then they came up to me, oh, I didn't know you were a gun guy. Yeah, I went to the range this weekend. It's almost like like closet example. Like they didn't want to say anything, but because I was so much like, I don't give a crap who knows. Like I love guns and I love the Second Amendment. Like whatever. All of a sudden, I get these conversations with people and get offered, oh, hey, I'm going to the range this Thursday after work. Want to come? Like, I went shooting with a couple of guys and stuff. Like it was really cool. And if they were similar to him, of like in the middle or like, why do you need an AR? I would like to think that my conversation with him maybe pushed them a little bit more in that direction. So yeah, that's definitely why I do it. And then out here, I can't open carry because I am in common formation, Mr. Commie State. But I try and at least like wear a gun shirt or like wear a gun hat. I really I have a Dan Wesson, and it says repeal the NFA. It's got a 1911 with a suppressor. Like, for one, I really have props to Dan Wesson for putting that shirt out. That was their official swag. I think it was NRA show, like back in the day. Not too long ago, but 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that. That's their official thing they handed out to everybody. Repeal the NFA. Anyways, this was not on an Every Second Matters. This was a while ago. Just a random day, but I was out and about. And this bartender was like, "Oh, hey man, I like your hat." And I was like, "Heck yeah, dude." Like I thought, I found one. Well, after hearing him talk, he said something to the effect of like, those bastards at the NRA, blah, 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 whatever. I'm like, "Oh, you think my hat says like get rid of the NRA, not NFA." Like, okay. But then basically I said, "Yeah, dude, like I hate the NFA. Like it's such a, classist, racist thing from the 1934. Like the whole point of only rich people are allowed to exercise their rights and this, that, and the other." So, I mean, he had no idea what conversation he was getting into. Because he thought my hat said get rid of the NRA. But then by the time I was done talking, he was like, "Wait, what? That's a thing?" And basically, because I knew my audience, right, I pushed on the fact that, they purposely made it $200 because back then that was like what you could buy a car for, right? Like it's the equivalent of, I forget what it is, right? Like 12 grand or 15 grand or something in today's money. Like it was only for like rich people were allowed to have their rights. And like, isn't that, classist or racist or, whatever, like, oh, only we can have it and you guys can't. And since everyone hates the elites and hates the 1%, well, the NFA was written for the 1%. So anyway, I opened his eyes to something he didn't even know existed. And maybe later in the future, I mean, I don't think I turned him like, so super pro gun or anything right off the bat. But hopefully if there's something in the future, he'll kind of remember that and be like, "Oh yeah, gun control is racist." Because we all know that.
And I know earlier that bearded guy asked if I scared. He says, "Gee, please tell me you didn't scare that poor man." No. It was actually really funny because I was talking with the wife when we were, heading over to get something. And he came up and he approached me, and, "Hey, and so we started having the conversation. So it was pretty funny just because I had a firearm on my hip. The guy felt comfortable enough to come and approach me with firearm questions. So I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not normally pro open carry, just like on a day-to-day basis for, I guess you'd say like a tactical reason type thing. And that debate's as old as time, right? That's 45 versus 9mm open versus concealed. Like I'd rather carry concealed. If I need to stop a bad guy, I don't want him to know that I'm the first target, whatever. You can go down that road, who cares? But that being said, that type of experience is exactly why I agree with it for Every Second Matters, or just a random Tuesday if you feel like it, and willing to have those types of conversations because for one, you may identify, some allies. Like it could just be someone going, "Hey, that's a cool one. The one I have is this, blah, 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 whatever." And you just made a new friend. But the other thing is, maybe the people that are super scared, they're not going to come up to you. They're not going to talk to you. They're going to grab their kids and run away and, who knows, call the cops on you or something sometimes. But the people in the middle that are like, "Oh, that's interesting. Like, what's up with that?" Those are people that are savable. And again, they might not swing them all the way, but that's one of those 1-2 yard runs. Like, okay, I got this one person to not be scared of it. And the people watching that interaction, they're going to see that you're not the crazy, like drunk redneck that is screaming at people or whatever. Like you're just a normal human who happens to have a firearm on you. Like, and you can talk to people about whatever normally. And that might help dispel some of the myths that go around. And yeah, I'm an optimist. So if you're the guy saying that conversation I had with that dude, he's not going to change his mind and it was all worthless and it was a waste of time and blah, blah, blah. I don't believe you. And you might be right, but I'm optimistic. So I don't believe that because again, I don't remember all the conversation, but I know leaving it, like I felt good about it. Like something, something changed in his brain, at least a little bit. Because you're not going to change anyone's mind on the first conversation either. Well, again, he didn't even know it existed. So now he knows it exists and he can think about it a little bit. And, it's a step in the right direction.
So you plant the seed. Now it's up to them to either let the seed die or, maybe, this guy just told me about something I don't know. Maybe I'm going to go look into it. And so they go and seek out information, and maybe they affirm their, decision that they had going into it, or maybe they realize, hey, this is wrong and they change on their own. Or maybe they just go into the middle where they're like, man, I really don't care either way now. And
right.
To get them to go at least to that middle point, that middle ground where they're like, yeah, I don't really care either way. That's one less vote against, any infringements. So I'd rather have somebody walk away, at least saying, I really don't care now. Because maybe in a year or two, that I really don't care becomes, maybe I need to really start thinking about this more, and they end up changing down the road. It's not going to be an overnight, I'm so against firearms too, I'm now going to have my house filled with 136 guns. It's probably not going to happen overnight. There is a slim chance that could happen.
Right. And that's definitely, the chances increase if it is like a coworker or something, because then you can lay the seed and water it and, weed out the bad ideas and like nurture and grow the whole thing. So this, just a random dude, whatever. But we already know, like the past couple years, talk to any gun store owner, anyone in the past couple years, and say like how many people were new, like how many new firearm owners are there, and they're going to say, a whole bunch of them. And I don't know that we have good numbers on it, and I don't want to have the capability of having good numbers on it because that would just be some kind of crazy registry, and you could look up how many like new entries and how many were existing. It'd be interesting data, but I don't want to have the capability of having that data. So anecdotally, by the types of questions they ask, by maybe they just say straight out, they walk in the door, say, I've never owned a gun before, what should I buy? Like whatever, that anecdotal evidence is that people that never owned them before are getting them these past couple of years. And most of that space is, the self-defense space. Oh man, my neighborhood's gone down, or there's, I'm going to get a carry permit because I used to be able to walk down the streets no problem. And maybe I had one in the house, but I don't need to take it with me. And then they've seen some stuff and they go, maybe I should take it with me. So like all that is stepping in the right direction for at least explaining to people like why they need something. And then they're going to be less likely to vote against their own self-interest. Hopefully.
I don't remember if it was a gun shop that had a YouTube channel or if it was like a news organization. It was doing an interview with a gun shop, but this was in 2021, when they were talking to a gun shop about a lot of the new firearms people that came in, and they heard time and time again, well, this is nothing like going and getting a book from the library. I didn't know that I had to wait, 7 or 10 days, to get a firearm. I didn't know I had to have, all this other stuff. This was all happening in California, and so they're like, found out all this information, and they're like, we've been being lied to this entire time. And, just them going in and attempting to get a firearm, we're like, well, we're going to start voting differently because of the fact we're being lied to. Then they got woke up to realizing that what the media and, a lot of politicians were saying was completely untrue, that there is no, loophole and stuff like that. So, sometimes bad times can reformulate how people think and understand.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's the thing is like people have, if they don't have the experience of it and they just, believe whatever the news says or whatever. Look at that. There was some reporter or something. I know it's kind of a fan story. The reporter went and like, I'm going to show how easy it is to buy a gun. And then turns out he had like a domestic abuse misdemeanor or something and he couldn't buy a gun. And he's like, oh crap, they did a background check on me. Like I couldn't get my thing. And he had no idea. Like, he literally thought that there was no check. You just walk in and buy the thing and walk out. And he was going to prove how easy it was. Or then I think it was Daily Show or Samantha Bee or one of those. They did something trying to prove how easy it is to, buy a gun or whatever. And they sent their intern from New York to Florida and to buy a thing. I think it's Samantha Bee. Like basically did a straw purchase for her. And then did a report about it, not realizing like, you do realize you're totally admitting to all these crimes you just committed. Like these are the laws that you were fighting for, that you said you wanted. You broke all of them. So, anyways, I guess until they do it and experience, they won't understand. But that's why I'm like, okay, you think it's so easy? Go ahead and do it, and then you'll understand. So that's another way to change people's minds. But also, if they would have had just one, friend that was a gun owner, and when they said that thing, oh, it's easier than a library card, blah blah blah. And it's like, well, no, you need a valid ID, you need a driver's license and stuff. You got to do the background check, especially if you're in a state with a waiting period. Like you don't get to walk out today. We'll see you in a week. And they'll be blown away because they think, like, oh, I can't believe there's all these rules for it. Yet they still want more rules. So that's the education part of it, is like, and that's when they use that stat for, like, what do you call it? Like the getting rid of private sales, the enhanced background check or universal background check. It sounds, okay, well, it's just a background check, whatever. And we can all debate on that too, right? But they use that stat. Oh, 80% of people support background checks. Okay, well, what was the question in the poll? It wasn't, do you support like getting rid of the loophole or whatever? It was just like, do you think criminals should have guns? And the people say, no, I don't. And they translate that to, therefore, this person supports universal background check. So the people answering the polls think that they're asking, like, if you go to a gun store, should you have to do a check? They don't know that you already have to do that. They think that doesn't exist or whatever. So, education from that point of view is like, before you start making new rules, understand the ones that exist. And then you can either agree or disagree with those, start enforcing the ones that exist, and it either helps or it hurts, and then move forward. But this is like, we've tried nothing. We're going to just do whatever we feel like. It reminds me of like that Simpsons quote back in the day, the something with Flanders. His parents were like, hey man, we've tried nothing. We're all out of ideas. Like, okay, so there you go. You haven't even looked into what exists already. You haven't done any of the homework to see what types of laws help and which ones hurt and are they worth it and da da da. Again, throw out all the constitutionality part of it, because we all agree like they're all infringements and we don't like them. but like, just ask the people to be practical. They haven't even tried. They haven't even looked into it, but they have the solution that's going to save everybody. And I sure am glad that I spent 10 seconds saying something about 9mm versus 45 because, oh boy, this chat blew up.
You're right.
I guess it's good for Al Gore's rhythm, but damn, guys, you got to know when I'm take a joke. Like, I'm just mentioning it, just using it as an example.
I mean,
calm down.
We all know Super 30 or 38 Super rules the world, you know.
Okay, whatever. I'm going to use 2.96 by 38652-R. That's my carry ammo. And I know you guys are all just joking with each other. It's just an observation. Which even if you were guys actually arguing, I don't care. Whatever. You guys can hate each other. Whatever. Not my problem. But yeah, I know you guys are just joking around.
Aren't we all supposed to switch over to the latest and greatest 5.7 by 28?
I mean, maybe. I don't know much about it. I mean, I kind of like the 22 Magnum. I don't know for a carry thing, but I have the Kel-Tec PMR 30, and I very much enjoy that firearm. It's just fun.
I've really been really interested in the 22 TCM. That looks like a really fun cartridge that I wouldn't mind getting involved with.
That's the one that's like neck down, like isn't it like kind of a big case neck down?
Yeah, it's what is it? We got 9mm neck down to a 22. Yep, there's a couple 1911s that are chambered in it, and I believe they have a 22 TCM Glock conversion also.
All right. Well, actually, I'm gonna get going. So thanks everyone for jumping in, and yeah, have a happy Every Second Matters.
Yep. Thanks for hosting, Smeggy.